You don't lose your words because you don't care. You lose them because something inside you is trying to protect you. And by the end of this story, you'll understand exactly what that something is, why it takes over your body in the middle of conflict, and how to gently regain your voice without forcing yourself to be someone you're not. It starts quietly, almost invisibly, with a moment that feels small on the outside but enormous on the inside, like standing in a room where the air suddenly changes. Maybe it's a raised eyebrow, a sharper tone, a sentence that lands wrong, and before you can respond your chest tightens, your throat closes, your thoughts scatter like birds startled into the sky. You know you want to say something but nothing comes out, or worse, you hear yourself agreeing, apologizing, shutting down, and later, when you're alone, you replay the moment over and over, wondering why you froze, why you didn't defend yourself, why conflict seems to drain the life out of you even when you promised yourself you'd speak up this time. What you're about to learn isn't about weakness or avoidance or being too sensitive. It's about how your nervous system learned to survive long before you ever had adult language, and how that survival strategy still shows up today in arguments with your partner, tense conversations with family, workplace disagreements, or even mild confrontations that leave you exhausted for hours afterward. Imagine this scene. A younger version of you sitting somewhere familiar, maybe at a table, maybe in a bedroom, maybe just inside your own body, listening carefully not to what's being said but to how it feels, the tension in the room, the unpredictability of tone, the subtle signals that tell you whether it's safe to speak or safer to stay quiet. And in that moment you learn something powerful without ever consciously deciding it. You learn that silence keeps you safer than honesty, that shrinking reduces risk, that staying still prevents escalation. And your nervous system stores this lesson not as a memory but as a reflex. This is where the psychology begins, because what you experience during conflict today is not a failure of communication, it's a state shift in your brain. When conflict appears, your nervous system scans for danger. And if past experiences taught it that disagreement equals threat, your brain doesn't move into problem-solving mode. It moves into survival mode, specifically a response called dorsal vagal shutdown or freeze, one of the lesser discussed but deeply misunderstood trauma responses. Most people know fight or flight, but shutdown is different. Shutdown is when your body decides that neither fighting nor fleeing will keep you safe, so it conserves energy instead. Heart rate drops, muscles feel heavy, emotions go numb, thoughts slow down, and speech becomes difficult. This isn't passive, it's protective. Your brain is saying, if I disappear, maybe this will pass. Inside your brain, the amygdala has sounded the alarm, not because the current conflict is objectively dangerous, but because it resembles something dangerous from the past. And once that alarm goes off, your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for reasoning, boundaries, and clear communication, goes offline. So when you later ask yourself, why didn't I just say what I meant? The answer is simple and painful. The part of your brain that could do that wasn't accessible at the time. This is the moment most people blame themselves, but here's the shocking truth that changes everything. Your shutdown response is evidence that your nervous system once adapted brilliantly to survive. It learned that speaking caused harm, when staying small reduced chaos, when compliance kept the peace, and it chose survival over self-expression because survival always comes first. Now stay with me here, because this is where the story deepens. Shutdown doesn't only happen during loud arguments or obvious conflict. It can happen during calm disagreements, emotional conversations, or even when someone asks you how you feel, because your nervous system isn't responding to volume, it's responding to perceived relational threat, the possibility of disconnection, rejection, abandonment, or emotional overwhelm. This is why you might feel your body tense when someone says, "We need to talk," or why your mind goes blank when you're asked to explain yourself, or why you feel an overwhelming urge to end the conversation just to feel regulated again. And here's the part most people don't realize. The shutdown often comes with a wave of shame afterward, because once your nervous system settles, your thinking brain returns and starts judging the moment harshly, telling you that you failed, that you're weak, that you should have done better. But shame only deepens the pattern, because it teaches your nervous system that conflict leads not only to danger but also to self-attack. What if instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" you asked, "What did my nervous system learn a long time ago?" Because awareness is the first interruption, and interruption is where healing begins. Now let's move into the emotional core of this story, because understanding the science helps, but feeling the compassion is what rewires the pattern. Imagine the moment right before you shut down, that split second where your body senses something coming, your shoulders rise, your breath shortens, your attention narrows. This is the moment where choice feels impossible, but this is also where gentle awareness can slip in. Instead of forcing yourself to speak, instead of pushing through, instead of shaming the freeze, what if you acknowledged it internally, something like, I'm shutting down right now. Not as a failure but as information, because naming the state begins to re-engage the prefrontal cortex, and once that part of the brain comes back online even slightly, your system begins to feel less alone. Here's something deeply comforting. You don't need to become confrontational to heal shutdown, you need safety. Your nervous system needs repeated experiences of conflict that do not end in harm, and that begins with how you treat yourself during and after these moments. Instead of replaying the argument at night, criticizing yourself, try offering curiosity. Ask, what felt threatening there? What was I afraid would happen if I spoke? How old does this reaction feel? Because many shutdown responses aren't adult-sized. They belong to a younger version of you who didn't have power or choice. And every time you respond with compassion instead of judgment, you update your nervous system's expectations. This is the dramatic turning point most people don't expect. Healing doesn't start when you suddenly speak perfectly during conflict. It starts when you stop abandoning yourself afterward, because safety isn't built through performance, it's built through presence. Over time, as your nervous system learns that conflict doesn't automatically equal danger, the shutdown response loosens its grip. Not all at once, not dramatically, but subtly. You might notice that you can stay present a few seconds longer, that your words come back slowly, that you can say, I need a moment, instead of disappearing completely, and that's progress, real neurological progress. And here's something powerful to remember. You are not broken for shutting down, you are patterned, and patterns can change when they are met with understanding rather than force. So as we come to the end of this story, let me leave you with this thought. The next time you feel yourself going quiet during conflict, instead of pushing yourself to be louder, try being kinder. Put a hand on your body if you can. Breathe slowly. Remind yourself that you are here, that you are safe enough in this moment, that your voice doesn't have to appear instantly to matter. If this story helped you see yourself with more clarity or compassion, stay here, because this channel is a space where psychology meets humanity, where we slow down the nervous system while awakening self-awareness, and where understanding the brain becomes a path back to yourself. And if you want more stories like this that blend science, empathy, and healing, stay with me, because this is only the beginning.